The championship might be all over, but there are still 2 races to come, one of them being tonight. Hello everybody, welcome to round 15 of season 5 in the SSRL Division 2 Championship. Division 2 being a continuation of the previous seasons that have come before. I am your broadcaster and commentator, David, also known as Dave11 or Wingus, and tonight we bring you round 15 from Miami with only, as I said, 2 races to go. Of course, one being tonight, Division 1 being last night, and then next week it'll be the final full qualifying session of F124 in SSRL, and of course the final race in F124 and Season 5 of SSRL. Your current standings, as we've already kind of decided, well, we've not decided, this is all but confirmed. Andy and fellow son cannot be picked off their positions. Andy is champion for the 4th season in a row in SSRL, and fellow son does confirm. Oh, or does he? No, yes, I think he does confirm it. 54 points, that means he is all but confirmed. Second place is all but his, but Moksha and Danger David, and even Pleasant Snake with an outside chance, could still bring a fight to 3rd place there, so that is all to play for. To Bran, Jolly Boy John and Rush the Siri in a fight for 6th place, and they are separated by 7 points, all to fight for there. One of the battles for 9th, one of the drivers battling for 9th, could find their way in there, but need an exceptional result. So realistically, they are battling for their own turf towards these final couple of races. That is Kavachka, Energetic, Eugene, and Quincy all fighting for that one position up in the top 10. Then Daryl, Enzo, and Tarkangino round out your top 15, followed by the 16th to 20th with Race Chase, Flip, Toby, Mr. Router, and Control. And then, of course, crowd favourite from last night, Mr. Colonoscopy himself. Iron Ghost is 21st, with 22nd being Falco Warrior, then Bavish, Sergeant Dempsey, and Quan rounding out 22nd to 25th. Then Evor, No Sebo, Cerebo, Rolly, and Trunkster going from 26th to 30th, and of course Herman now knocked off the board thanks to Iron Ghost's podium last week. In the Constructors' Championship, well, that's not quite decided yet, but it could all be done tonight. All Sauber needs to do to bring it into next week is outscore the Mercedes camp by I think it will be 15 points or more, and then that is all but secured. But of course Mercedes have, with Andy, have been very close to consistent there. Alpine, well, Sauber will be more worried about Alpine. They're 3 points behind. Aston Martin are a bit far away, and they need quite the gap to, well, they need quite the scoring tonight, and they'll be more worried about Red Bull in 5th. Then Williams could poke themselves in, but really they need a good result themselves. They're probably more worried about Red Bull in front. And then it's Ferrari and Haas in a battle for 7th, and then for a battle for 9th is McLaren and Racing Bulls. But also, if one of those bottom teams get a good result tonight, whether that being Ferrari, Haas, McLaren, or Racing Bulls, they could find themselves fighting for that 7th place next week if they are lucky, maybe even 6th if they're even luckier. But at the moment now, we are about to get underway, but we don't have an invite as of right now, so I'm just going to cut to the webcam and introduce the co-commentator who I've had the pleasure of having the company of throughout the season. It is a World of Warships, World of Tanks expert, maybe some Mario Kart sprinkled in there as well, and Season 1 champion in SSRL, Herman the German. It's good to see you.
What a lovely evening to go racing again, no, it is, and thank you very much for the lovely introduction, as per usual, Dave, and I'm looking forward to this. I think the race on Saturday had on Sunday had its highs and downs, but to say on racing, and especially in league racing, this track is not too bad, I have to say. Racing it also myself in Season 1 and winning there, so I have some experience on this one as well. I'm looking forward to what these drivers can produce here for tonight.
Thank you very much. Of course, I actually wasn't where we raced here in Season 1. I actually forgot to ask that, so we will soon see how that brings. But, like, you know, I was just looking at the times from last night as well. Of course, I had to note that Andy didn't even finish in the podium, which is which I think we've kind of gotten a little bit used to in recent weeks. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, he didn't even finish on the podium, and he didn't finish on the podium last night. So do you just want to take us through what happened in Division 1 really quickly?
Yeah, so I think the main part was that the seven-car group dispatched itself from the rest of the field early on with Moksha, Fellis, and also ended David and the usual suspects you have. And there was a late safety car in sort of like the start of the third part of the race, basically around lap 18, where tires choices came in from the drivers where Moksha and Fellison, who are teammates in Division 1, were still on the hards, opted for a for a medium tire, and they were the only guys who didn't pit at that time before the safety car came. So even though they had to double stack, they had the biggest advantage. And then they actually fought for what is and was the final place behind Andy for P2 until the final lap and the final meters of the race, with only a tenth of them separating, and Andy was just missing out because of a tire disadvantage. But very unusual, and I have to really put a emphasis on this. He had a time penalty, which is very common for him, and that put him down the order. And drivers who had, as I said, also fresher tires could make it by on him. And Andrew, a driver who's only racing for Aston Martin in Division One, had also a strong race there yesterday with David clinching third. After that, too much of a tussle and the soft tire not being the right choice for Andrew at the end. So yeah.
Speaking of battles for third, we've got, moving into tonight, we've got a battle for third between Moksha and Danger David. Of course, Danger David didn't even finish last week, as I'm sure you know. He is 3 points behind Moksha, who is, of course, we've just spoken about in that battle. So, in terms of tonight, who do you think's going to have the upper hand? I think David is going to be personally on the back foot coming if there wasn't a race yesterday. But of course, that third place should give him some confidence coming into tonight.
Yeah, I have to say it's really hard to judge because Moksha, even though he was kind of in third after the safety car queue, had actually the pace to catch up with Fallison. And on this track, if you're outside the DRS, it's really hard to catch some pace. So you're kind of reliant on a stronger performance from yourself, maybe pushing to further to the limits, because yeah, in league racing we don't suffer from DRS too much, from dirty air too much. So DS on this track is probably half a second at minimum per lap. So if you have someone in front of you that can pull you along, that's very interesting. And based on what I've seen yesterday, I think Moksha has the upper hand as well in terms of performance. He could fight with Fellas and maybe didn't pick the right time to that final overtaking maneuver that maybe cost him. As we speak, Fellison goes into P1 for the first time we see on the board. And I have to say, Moksha looks pretty feisty. The only thing I can give to David is that he tried something different on the strategy with a soft tire stint in between. And I think after what he saw yesterday, as Vincenzo goes to first, he maybe is thinking about an alternative strategy that can maybe push his performance even further, because undercuts were surprisingly not working yesterday. With 2 stops, we had like 4 people trying undercuts in the top 7 group, and all of them didn't even work at the end as Andy goes to the top. So that is an interesting point, and I have to say, I don't think soft tires are going to be the primary choice, which can help for Moksha's performance as well. So I would put my money on him if I would have to at this stage of what I've seen yesterday.
And also, just kind of noting the fastest time, as we saw Andy take a 1:25.8, and Toby, who we're riding with, goes to 10th for the 1:28.540, slowest time of the session so far, nearly 3 seconds behind the top driver there. And so it was a 1:25.710. I always kind of say that, you know, between Division 1 to Division 2, of course, Division 1 being last night, I think that also gives some drivers in Division who are racing in Division 2 primarily, it gives them that sort of, I guess, a banker night, and then they can take it into Division 2 and then see where they can shave off a 10th here and there. We've seen that over the weeks, and I think we're going to see, based on habitual habits between previous weeks, we're going to see that time to beat again, don't you think?
Yeah, usually that is very much the case, and something when talking about Danger David, who was not really racing in Division 1, obviously that wasn't his primary choice of day in terms of racing in this league before. He has been here since the start, had a bit of an off time in between, and he is really sometimes being left wondering why something didn't work, but most of the time it's just the other ones that knew from the night before, as he's pushing into that chicane at the end of the second sector now, and is gonna benefit from that slipstream here from the Aston Martin. So you can also say that for times, and I expect them to improve, but also for race strategy, especially with these two-stop and overall knowledge of the track. Only thing is, if Division 1 is a washout race with wet weather, you can't really take anything into consideration what you've learned. So yeah, it's basically try something. If it doesn't work, change something. As David goes to second place here behind Andy, and that is certainly a ground or an advantage, you even can say, for some of these drivers who are racing in both of the divisions, even though sometimes the car change. Example, Moksha, where he's in the top 3 for both divisions, currently fighting with David for third, and he is benefiting from that, I think, certainly. So yeah, let's see what they can put to practice what they've learned yesterday after also a dry race.
Absolutely. Tabran is starting his first flying lap, so let's see what he can do. Last week, he qualified 12th, but was able to bring it home in 9th position, of course, within a fight with his teammate. Tabran currently on, I'm just about to dig it out for you now. Tabran on 107 points, ahead of his teammate, Jolly Boy John, who's on 104 points, but also needs to worry about Rush Nasiri, who actually isn't with us tonight. So that means Rush Nasiri might be out of things. So that's actually somebody who would have loved to have been in this fight for what is 7th place. No, 6th place here even, beg your pardon. But so let's have a look at the leading driver. He's just coming into the long chicanes of turns, well, long corners of 11 and 12, I should say. Then it's 13, and then it's this abrupt breaking point for 14, 15, and then 16. Very slow section of the circuit. Then you come on to this long straight here, open the DRS. Later on, at some point, you'll see the DRS sign on your right-hand side. There it was. Rear rig should be open right now. Indeed it is. And then it is a sharp braking point for turn 17. Where do you... Well, you want to brake late, but also you don't want to lock up and then go wide, as we saw many do over the weekend. Just gone. Now through the final sweepers. Left, right, and towards the line goes to Brand. That's 7th place with a 1:27, 2:37, Herman.
I was following Quincy, who was certainly behind him, and he benefited greatly off of a slipstream from T-Bran and even got by him by 3/10. So Quincy in the Williams currently in 6th position, who you have to say, David, had an absolute storm of a weekend with both Alex Albon and Sainz really performing their car into the top 7 positions and being, I think, personally, the 4th fastest car on the Miami weekend, don't you think?
Absolutely, yes. Ferrari really suffering, and of course you heard it from a certain 7-time world champion who was not very happy with the team's strategy. Hopefully they don't have any sort of dramas in this league tonight. But of course, speaking of Williams, Quincy's teammate is currently on an outlap, so they will be starting to set their lap in a few moments' time. They're just going through turns 11 and 12 now, so those long sweeping corners just before the chicane. But we're looking at Kvyatko right now in the V-Carb in a battle for 9th position with the McLarens, currently one of them in 3rd place. So somebody needed to just get their strategy up. Of course, Kvyatko usually qualifying outside of the top 10, but then somehow finds a way to finish with it. Last week was no different, even though he was even though it was on mighty thin ice. 13th place in qualifying and 10th place in the race. So Kvyatko, again, doing another successful top 10 drive, and certainly if he could just find a bit more pace, he would certainly be on par for championship contention. But we will have to wait till next season to see if that comes to fruition. Kvyatko down by nearly a couple of tenths through Sector 2. Just approaching the DRS zone now as a lot of drivers getting out the way. Looked like somebody was suffering from a heavy lockup there, or an engine failure. His fellow son has retired. And Herman, do you have any insight on
that? Not sure why he's retiring right now, but well, if you didn't get that inside of the server, Fellison is actually trying to race with VR tonight as some sort of a gimmick to round off the season with some fun. And he has stated that there are some issues, so maybe it's not working right. He maybe needs to reconnect something, or is going to leave the session soon. Let's see. But he's on PC now for a couple of weeks now, and he's raced on a new console. Let's say he is maybe enjoying also the opportunity of racing VR as he has the ability to do so. And I actually wanted to talk or touch about this. If you were a racer right now, which obviously in SSRL terms you are currently not, what's one thing you kind of think that would be funny to do if this season is done and you basically have nothing to compete for? Because let's give you another example compared to VR. I raced with no OSD display for the season finale of season one when this title was also wrapped up, and I can tell you that certainly felt like being out on the racetrack for 36 laps, like the real thing. And I have to say it was very enjoyable, yet scary at some stages. So, is there something you have maybe picked up after all these years, maybe commentating already, where you think people were talking about this and you've thought to yourself, well, that would be fun to try?
I've kind of had a funny idea, so to speak. So what I would do is I would invert my, well, actually, I would go opposite with my brake and accelerator pedal. I'd make my very tough brake pedal the accelerator and my very light accelerator pedal the brakes. It would just be something funny to do in my own way, but nobody would be able to see it. But then again, I think about it, and then I think that would actually be rather painful for my left knee. I don't think that would be fun, just holding down this rather aggressive brake pedal. But that's just something I would do. But then again, I don't think it would be very safe for everybody else out on track. So I don't know how far I could take that, to be honest with you. So just something that I would do my own personal self. But if I had to choose, then I think I would just honestly turn off the UI and just kind of try and listen to my race engineer and use that button where you can actually use the voice commands with your mic as well, just to communicate the information and really immerse myself like you did, really. So it wouldn't be too far from that, but then that's just my own personal thing. Danger David, though, just going back to qualifying in terms of things right now, had an invalidated flyer there, but sadly, well, luckily he was, luckily for him, able to go onto a new flying lap, and we're just catching Pleasant State, and we're just seeming to be catching drivers actually kind of ruining their hot laps race chase as well. Not set a time in 20th, had to abandon that as well. So we're coming to the end of Enzo's lap. He's just going through turn 17 now, when the McLaren trying to finish ahead of the Racing Bulls team so that they can secure ninth and maybe try and make a charge for the two positions that are ahead of him. And Enzo there up to second, but nobody apart from Andy touched that 125. And well, Andy surely going to be the runaway here, because he shouldn't be able to repeat the mistakes he did last night.
Yeah, let's hope he. I think he's always looking for that extra opportunity to have another win, although he specifically stated that for both Division 1 and 2 he wanted to win the race where he could clinch the title, which he in fact did for both of them at the Dutch GP last time out. To say race chase level didn't look too scrappy, so I'm surprised if he has some more opportunities inside of this tire as he's continued to push on with only two drivers yet to score time as we approach the 4-minute mark. And yeah, Fellowson obviously with that already DNF'd session here, and probably some work to do on a very new environment is going to be causing some opportunities for the Alpine team, who are fighting with Kicksauber for second in the constructors as well, as Mercedes has run away with it. And I have to say, Vincenzo is surprising, as David has also matched the time of the 26.1 now, or finished the lap just before. So Bevesh Moksha, half a second down, that could be still achievable if the track is rubbering in. And based on Pirelli's statement, which I don't know if that's true for the virtual Grand Prix as well, it's on track evolution 5 out of 5. So very heavy and very depending on people going out there, rubbering in the track, and actually laying down some as the session continues. So let's see what happens. Race chase now 27.8. That's more of a banker now, and he still some time to get back into the pits and use a new tire to get himself up the order. As a very good race, I had a good chase with no pun intended, with Kovachka yesterday, as he was pushing with him throughout the field to make a good P8 and 9 finish, which is kind of the top of the midfield pack that was formed yesterday, as Feddersen is now demoted to 15 as Toby Lenz goes into 14th. And Moksha is now on a flyer as well. Let's see how that goes, as he's currently in P5. And I think there's still one more guy we should keep an eye on, and that is GR1. Also had a strong qualifying yesterday, opted for a suboptimal tire choice with the soft at the start. And as we had to restart the race yesterday after a lobby crash, he wasn't really feeling it, had a crash then, and had to retire, I think, because of permanent damage as well. So let's see, David is done with it. So third is his maximum. Let's see what the other drivers can do now, as Andy's also on the flyer.
I don't know if that was a deliberate, though. I think he's actually crashed it on pit entry. And I was on board with Babish, and he's also cancelled his lap, but Danger David crashed it while going into the pits from what I saw. I was keeping an eye on the dot on the pit entry, and it was just outside of the outside of his pit box, so I don't know if that counted in for dragging him in, but it looked like to me he crashed it. Now, I don't know if that's just me looking into something that isn't there, but that's what it looked like to me. But anyway, Danger David... Ooh, as I
The race director can't really turn it, so usually it's up there, but must have been on the brink of the line, so maybe it counted, but yeah, he is out anyway. I think he's not gonna be too much frustrated now, but
Just...
yeah, nothing on the obvious here.
No, exactly. Also, with Moksha, he completed his lap time at 1,000ths away from Babish, but as soon as you say that, Babish is now on a flyer, got a bit of traffic ahead of him. At the moment, with how long is there left? As soon as there we go, just under a minute. So Babish on his final flying lap, and a few drivers will begin. There's a few drivers on the straight. There's two Hasses, a Williams, and an Alpine, and an Aston Martin. McLaren flies through as well. I think that will be GR1 Racing or Enzo. It's certainly one of those group, as there's a Sauber also making room. There's a Mercedes in front of Babish, trying to get out the way. Andy in the pits, so this is Sir Ibo. Sir Ibo impedes Babish, and Babish is not going to be happy with that. Let's see if that affects his time going through Sector 2. At the moment now, just going through that slow chicane, and DRS will open. Oh, 1900ths up on his personal best. Remember, the delta on the top right compares to the personal best of the driver, not the overall session best, so Andy doesn't feel the need to improve. But Babish, or there's a Red Bull ahead of him that's going to be completing a lap. No, it's not Bruiser, so he's not on a lap either. Not sure why. As the session completes, so Andy has pole for now, but under pressure from cars behind. Won't be Babish. He stays fourth for now. But we need to see where everybody else is. Where is Race Chase? He was up by a second, but has invalidated the time already. So that's the end of the session for him. Jolly Boy John is also just coming through the final few corners now. We need to keep an eye and see where everybody is based on the track. Quincy is going to be the first to the line, and that's fifth place for the Williams. Nice stuff there from the Williams driver. Enzo's invalidated the time. There's somebody in the wall. That's one of the McLarens. That's GR1 Racing. Oh, it's all gone wrong for him, and that's going to be the end of his qualifying. So that means Jolly Boy John, no to the pits, so he's not going to set a time. Now, Pleasant Snake behind, trying to fight for third, but this is not going to be a good shot. He is 28 points behind Moksha overall. Can he get something magical in this qualifying session? He can! He's got Williams in together. 5th and 6th for the team. Race Chase won't improve, so that means we need to look at the Haas drivers. No, Sebo doesn't improve. Tarkangino down in Sector 2, and he stays in front of his teammate. What about Kovachka? Of course, he qualifies outside the top 10 a lot, and he will be the final driver to set a time squirrely through turn 17, and he's not going to complete it. He's straight into the pits, and that's the end of qualifying. That time set early in quali, unbeatable from Andy, as that calls it for a qualifying. The last qualifying here in Miami, well, second to last qualifying here of Season 5, sees Andy on pole yet again by nearly 2.5 tenths ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, also Andy himself couldn't beat that time again, invalidated his final attempt. As you mentioned, Bevish, Vincenzo, Race Chase had a good final run. He was down in 16th before his final attempt. Very good to be up there with a very strong midfield pack that was always consisted of the Aston Martin pair. Very gutted for GR1. There was probably more in it, and I have to say Quincy Pleasant's a great qualifying for them. And Moksha left something on the table there. A 10th or so would have mean he's up there, and could have even started 4th with Bevish time also being reachable. And I have to say, it looks funny to me because now the second place in constructors is down in 17th and 18th. If you didn't have any context, you would look at this team and say, how did they manage to score so many points? But that is obviously with the asterisks of Federson being on VR now, and trying to figure things out ahead of the race start, which is coming to you shortly as we see the final conclusions on the board. Take it away, Dave.
Andy takes pole position by just over 2.5 tenths, like we alluded to already. Enzo takes second. Danger David in his battle for third with Moksha qualifies ahead of him in said position. Bavish is fourth. Quincy rounding out your top five. Great qualifying for the Williams, as also his teammate Pleasant Snake is sixth. Moksha needing to make some progress as both his contenders are ahead of him in that position. So 8th, 9th and 10th to Brandt. Then from 11th to 15th is GR1 Racing, Tarkangino, Nosebo, Kavachka and Toby. And I didn't quite get time to see the rest, so I'll bring those to you in a couple of moments' time. We're about to go for an ad break, although I just want to say, Herman, we are now going to get into what is the second to last race of the season. Now, with only 2 races to go, what has been your moment of SSRL Season 5 as we are now drawing to conclusions? Of course, we still have 2 races to go, so that might still be up for debate as we go into these races, but as of right now, your moment of Season 5, Herman.
I have to say that the win from Rush and Monza was quite special. I think the overall situation with the weather there on that day was so interesting and so unpredictable, where good drivers like Moksha and that was for Division 1, I have to say, where Moksha and think also Fellison didn't have the greatest of races, had to do extra stops, and he just kept it calm, collected, was always one of the stronger tracks he had, even from season 1. So, and he was just looking so great on that day. And obviously, I have to say, Andy as a whole performance, because like the last couple of races in Division 1 has been completely dominantly won by him. Obviously, I have to say that Fellison had a 3 races win streak here as well for Division 2. So I think the overall winner is the audience. And second thing is 2-stop races are obviously great. And I'm interested to see Monaco in a couple of weeks' time in the real world, as this is going to be basically a copycat of what we have already experienced here. So I think if the tire situation for a 50% race stays the same, which based on my data or information isn't really going to be like, I think they're going to be touching the tire scaling for 50% racing quite drastically, so we can have our fingers crossed that maybe 2 stops are becoming natural. So I think 2 stops is the key thing, because it has been so fun, very enjoyable. Every track kind of gets a fair share of a good light, I have to say, even though the tracks where you can't really overtake, strategy is just vitally important, and then it gets chaotic and it's fun. And you've seen it over the time, where probably Dave's voice as well must have been gone most of the time. So very enjoyable. I have to pick that for my number 1 spot.
Okay, so my moment of the season comes from Division 1. Andy's drive from, where was it? Well, he was up in the top
Jeddah.
five. Yeah, it was in Jeddah. He was in last twice in that race due to penalties that came his way. Thought he was out the race, and then all of a sudden, with those final 2 safety cars, picks his way through the field like a hot knife through butter, and then ends up coming down to the final corner on the very last lap. He takes the win, and that to me was moment of the season in terms of racing. In terms of characters, well, I just have to refer back to last week and that post-race interview with a certain Iron Ghost. I think he's Canadian. And he just announces casually, might I add, that he's going for a colonoscopy on stream, and he got a podium that evening. And of course, when you go for a colonoscopy, without going into too much information, you have to drink all sorts of funny liquids, and it's not a fun process, I can tell you that for free. So to get third in those circumstances was an absolute inspiration. He was over 50 years old as well, like some other people are in this league, which I had no idea of, by the way. So that to me, character of the season goes to Iron Ghost after last week's post-race interview. But here we go. In terms of now, we have 3, 4, 5 red lights in Miami. It's going the USA, and that's a good start by the Mercedes of Andy Andre. It looked like the McLaren was just about equal to it, but Danger David under pressure there. There's a Williams down his inside. That's Quincy's in third position. Oh my word, what a start from the Williams. His teammate, not quite as lucky, has gone down 1 position to Moksha, and Danger David losing 2. Now he's trying to get past the Ferrari and Famish. They go side by side into those long sweepers. How on earth have they done that? But Danger David wins out with a bit of a push through the second part of that complex, and now Barish loses out on fourth. All of a sudden, there's a lot of pressure on Barish behind. Pleasant Sake just trying to get his position back, but Moksha is going side by side with the Ferrari now. Straight line speed looks to be on the side of Alpine. We'll also have a bit of slipstream as well. Moksha does get 5th place, but the Ferrari will still be there on the exit. That looked like a Lawson and Alonso maneuver, but luckily without the contact, and that is Moksha up to 5th place there, and is up 2 positions on his start. Pleasant Sake down 1, Barish down 2, but the top 2 are very stubborn. They are where they started, Herman.
Yeah, what a drive from Quincy already in the first couple of laps. Had a horrible race yesterday, 19th on the grid to some points finish, and now he's looking so strong, just like the real pairing of them with Albon and obviously Carlos Sainz. So great stuff from him. Let's see if he can capitalize. I have put my bet on both of the Williams drivers to have a strong showing tonight, as Fellesen has already retired.
Well, it doesn't actually matter all that much, as Andy Andre took the fastest up there for being in the top. Fellow Son has 2nd place all but confirmed, so it doesn't really matter. He's 54 points ahead of Moksha going into this evening's proceedings. So with 26 points at maximum on offer every single week, it doesn't matter. 54 points ahead, you need 52, so Fellow Son not really going to lose out there. No real harm, as now we are going to see Enzo start to go for the lead of the Grand Prix, and Quincy not too far behind as well. How's the straight line speed on the Williams? We're going to go 3 wide into the next turn. You cannot be serious. Quincy is getting braver, and he could have the lead of the Grand Prix when we go through the corner, but no, Andy was wide there trying to defend. There's Danger David, who goes right through, round the outside, through the sweeper of 12 and through the left-hander of 13, 3rd place, and that is where he begun the Grand Prix, and he takes that right back from Quincy. Looked all great for the Williams driver, but the Red Bull had something. There's an Aston Martin going right there. That's Chabran having a bit of a moment on the exit of 16, beg your pardon, and now we're seeing a McLaren start to make moves. That's GR1 Racing on that very car. They're going to go side by side into 17, but Chabran will hold it for now. But lots of exciting action up and down the field early on in the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was very uncharacteristic from Dave. From Andy, had kind of the inside line locked up, and then it kind of hurt the entry line from Quincy, as now GR1 dives to the inside of T-Ran, going for that soft tire advantage again. And he is ahead by turn 3, so that is a P10 for the McLaren reserve driver for tonight, as the other one is actually leading the Grand Prix after 2 of these cars with a Mercedes engine at the back came together. No severe damage, but obviously position lost to Quincy, but he just needs to stay calm, follow that group. That was very vital yesterday to have the DRS. You have a great advantage of preventing any funny moments in terms of strategy calls from the cars behind. The Pleasant Sake has now dropped back to over a second. He is currently using that DRS, but he needs to be sure that he's staying with that group so he can get away from the cars behind, and obviously pushing through that very tricky final part of the second sector, as GR1 is going to be closing in on his group behind with Jolly Bon John Race Chase and P7 Babish now, as he has been demoted further inside of the first couple of 3 laps.
One thing I do wish that the camera angle in the broadcasting section of F124, the spectator mode I should say, but hang on a second, we've got Andy down the inside of turn 17 on Enzo there. They go side by side on the exit there. Looks like Andy has got that move done, but Enzo fighting back and saying, not quite yet, buddy. Not quite yet, buddy. As well, who's got DRS? It's the McLaren going into turn 1. This battle isn't done just yet, but Andy cuts across the front of the McLaren, and he says, well, that's all that you wrote about that for the time being. Of course, that battle will continue once we get through this complex of turns. Turns 4 through 7, long sweeping corners, left, right, left, and then of course double left-hander to end it there. That is of course turns 8 and 9, and now of course we'll have the well, second DRS zone, if you're being technical about it, which will just start right now for everybody here. I think the McLaren's just a bit too far away to try and have a go, but the Red Bull's certainly close there by a few tenths, and here we go. Oh, Danger David trying to think about the inside or outside, but in the end goes to the outside. Didn't quite work out there. Moksha tried to make a move on Quincy for fourth, but no dice so far, and that has brought Pleasant Snake right back into the DRS of the top 5, so it is now a 6-car battle for the lead of the race, and Babish also finds himself within there with a bit of a mistake there from Snake just on the exit of turn 14.
Yeah, the separation has begun now as the top 9 are together again, and T-Brand and GR1 fighting has made them split apart, and you can see quite a large gap already by 2.5 seconds. Let's see how these soft tires can come in handy at the end of the first stint, because they need to be pitting soon.
Battle for the lead happening here yet again. Andy and Enzo just going side by side, very much like they did last lap, but it ends at turn 1, this time more decisively, as I think it was Pleasant Snake there with the fastest lap, a 1:32 something, but that is fastest lap to the Williams, and that is crucial for his championship, for Snake's championship. Remember, needs to be ahead of Moksha and David in order to stand a chance of taking the battle to third. For himself next week, just needs to try and outscore both Danger David and Moksha by about, I would say, like, you know, let's see, 3 points or more. Now, at the moment, that won't happen. So, of course, we'll calculate the points towards the end of the Grand Prix. But remember, as now, well, I'm going to go back there to a battle for second place. David to the outside like he was last lap. Can he get the move done this time around? Don't think so. I think Enzo's just got the better traction when he goes there. But, oh, David has hooked onto that rather stubbornly. And he, well, Enzo, oh, a bit of contact with the wall there. Just sent him spinning sideways. Quincy gets right onto the back of the Red Bull of David here. And all of a sudden, it's an 8-car battle featuring Race Chase in 8th here, as now we go on to the third DRS straight, and Enzo's lost that DRS to Andy thanks to that mistake in the chicane. Here's Quincy trying to find room where there isn't one. No, but David now up into second, needs to get the move done, doesn't want to crush Enzo into the wall or anything, doesn't do that, but now this pack has lost the DRS to the leader, Herman.
Yeah, the pack behind, who has dropped back significantly now, has seen that T-Brand, Kovachka and also GR1 were racing 3 wide into turn 11 with the V-Cup driver coming out on top, and now he's trying to push away from these guys because they are fighting so much. They are losing so much time to the guys in front, and I think Kovachka still has the opportunity to break into maybe a train with Jolly Boy John, who's the only driver out of the top 10 that has now lost it to the front group, as now Andy has pushed away further from Vincenzo, as he got the opportunity as soon as they've started to fight with David, and this fight continues now, Dave.
Yeah, Enzo having to give up his position there. Had no DRS or a bit of contact between Quincy and Enzo. Oh, Danger David had some mistakes, so that's Moksha up to second now. That's important for the battle for third, because now Moksha will outscore the Red Bull driver by a few points. Of course, we'll keep you updated on where the points are once things have calmed down, but it is spicy action up and down the field. I don't think Moksha could really make a dent on Andy. I would honestly look to Danger David to do that and try and work with him, but with the pack being so bunched together, you're all in your own race, and even Jolly Boy John has joined in on this all the way in ninth as Danger David is being put under pressure here from Quincy down the inside of turn 17. They're going to go side by side through these section of corners, and it's going to be David on top for now, but Quincy will be able to fight back with a bit of DRS, ERS and slipstream, but it's not enough going into turn 1, as now there's even battles happening in 12th place there. I think somebody's in the pits. Yes, it's Tarkin Gino and GR1 Racing making their first pit stops. Herman, report.
Yeah, that were the soft tire runners, so you expect him to pull into the pit lane and try the old undercut. There's now T-Brand and Kovachka racing side by side, and there's a yellow flag for Devsy. Watch out if there's maybe too much damage, and the in-game race director might call a virtual safety car. It hasn't happened, so he's going again. I have to say, I was looking at David, and he just completely locked up into turn 11, allowing the opportunity for Moksha to get by, because Vincenzo had a poor exit out of that same corner. Moksha just took 2 into 1, and that is now his new position, as he already clawed half a second down on Andy, and the gap is now almost down 2, that very crucial 1 second gap you need to be activating that DRS that is helping you on the straight. He hasn't got it, didn't have it on this lap, but he will be certainly pushing for that. Although ES is right now very low, and that is also the case with the guys behind Vincenzo slipstreaming him now, with David not being really able to pressure that. So let's see how these cars are thinking about pit stop soon, because they will be coming, and some of these drivers are thinking about that overcut, I think, even more after yesterday, as Bevish is now putting pressure on Pleasant Snake into turn 1, and he's on the inside line, needs to be making that move certainly sooner rather than later, as Fountain Pace now back, and fighting really separates you from DRS trains, and you need to be making sure that you pass one, get on with it, and drive into the next DRS zone, and that is of the teammate of Pleasant Snake in 5th position, Quincy. That is, he is currently on that verge and is looking to also dispatch the second Williams car. Let's see how he can do so after a poor start. He's now back maybe into the race. Let's see how that develops, Dave.
Absolutely, and just to note there, while Herman was observing all of that, Targagino made a move on Sir Ibo already, and of course Mercedes trying to confirm the constructors tonight, but now it's for third position side by side with the McLaren and Red Bull. Enzo and Danger David getting at it again through turns 11 and 12. Danger David comes out on top for now, but also the battle for the lead, Moksha is closing that gap, so that actually has worked out nicely. Somehow Moksha finding a bit of extra space. So digging deep is the Alpine driver, knows what's at stake for his championship with David, so doesn't want him putting on too much pressure, and maybe just trying to get some extra points before the evening has concluded. But Andy not quite dominating as much as I thought he would be, considering he was 2.5 tenths ahead in qualifying. That's not quite translating, as now we see Enzo come into the pits from 4th position, so he's going to try the undercut on the cars ahead, as and yeah, Enzo's done that. I'm just trying to see who else has it. Quincy has as well.
Quincy is in the pit lid.
Yes, he is. Thank you very much. Herman, you could do tyres.
Yeah, hards for Quincy and mediums for Vincenzo. Honestly, I've seen opportunities for both of these strategy. If you have a safety car now, you kind of can go very long with the hard. So in the next probably 6 laps, as the hard runner, you don't want a safety car, and there's a brief yellow flag, as I said, that for Sebo, as Quincy is fighting Toby Lenzen on the exit of the pit exit and is now ahead. He needs to be warming up these tires, and that is the opportunity for all of the other drivers to make that overcut work if you are in the DS train, which is the case for David. For Moksha, he was now caught back on the lead of David, and we're going to be seeing that on the back straight soon. Bevish Race Chase and Jolly Boy John can extend for a couple of moments now and make that overcut work, as now Snake was very slow in that turn. Turn 16 exit of the chicane, and he's probably under pressure from multiple cars now, as Moksha isn't looking like he's going to make a move. Bevish looking to the inside of the Williams, as the Aston Martin and also the V-Cup are staying behind. So that's Bevish into 4th, back to his original starting position, with only Moksha inside of the top 4 making up positions. And now they're into the pit lane, all 3 of them. So let's see what the undercut from Quincy is going to be holding on, and also Vincenzo, as they approach now turn 17. Let's see how they, or if they are fighting at the exit of the pit lane, with Kovachka getting 10 seconds on the entry. Let's see who's ahead after these first pit stops, Dave.
Absolutely. By the way, Babish and Race Chase went side by side into turn 1. My goodness me, that was very close to ending in tears, but luckily they all sort themselves out, and the undercut from Quincy only got him past his teammate. Bit of a mistake from turn 1, and all of a sudden Quincy's under pressure. Of course, his teammate goes onto the hard tyres like his teammate. Now remember, 2 stops are mandatory in this league. It is a new rule brought in this season. Despite it being a 50% race, it is mandatory that you complete 2 stops. So, of course, you can use the usual 2 compound rule, but you must stop twice within that rule. As Turan and Nosebo going side by side for what is a provisional third, well, temporary third position for now. Of course, that won't be permanent once they have made their pit stops. So, at the moment, it is just the top 4 that haven't made a stop at the moment, so we will be waiting for them to come in. Let's see what works. Will it be the undercut or the overcut? We got a bit of information from Herman about that last night. from Division 1, as now Andy and Enzo go side by side, and that's Enzo to what is essentially the lead of the race. So now Enzo is now leading from Andy Andre, and this is kind of not working out as he wanted to, as Race Chase is now into the pit. So this should be either hard or soft. He would only be sharing that with Bruiser, who's just come across the line now after his one stop, going on to that pair in the middle. So taking a bit of inspiration from Danger David last night. Bran also follows through as well, one of the top 4, but looks like Andy went back ahead into the lead. That is 3rd place for the time being. Of course, no Saber and Bavish not stopping just yet, but that is Andy back into the lead. Well, once all the pit stops have worked out for now. And Andy here is certainly under quite a lot of pressure. Do you think last night is probably getting to him a little bit?
I have to say, some of these drivers, including Quincy, who made a very good change on the setup to have this position in hand anyway, despite the undercut not working at all. Seems like Andy didn't change anything and it's not working, or maybe he changed something and it's still not working, as Vincenzo is now going behind him for the lead of the race. Once again, that is obviously, if you discount the pit stops, still being made by No Sibo and also Bevished. I have to say, the only guy that is really standout for now is Moksha, and that is in a negative way because he got held up by drivers in the pit lane, and he was in front of David and Vincenzo after making that pass for second, and was challenging Andy, and now he's technically down to 4th, so he lost out big time in the pits with us not having the opportunity for unsafe release, so you can actually drive into a pathway that the game doesn't think that is unsafe. So yeah, he was getting held up by there, and now we are back into normal proceedings for the top 4, as they have pushed on to pass Bevish and also Nosibu into the pit lane. Let's see what they can bring in the second stint phase.
Moksha is behind this top 3 battle by a few seconds actually. He's just come out ahead of the Williams, not quite where he would have wanted to be, but Bavish there up to 5th ahead of Snake and Quincy. So the undercut not working for either Quincy or Snake in that regard. They've actually they haven't really brought in Race Chase. He was actually there from the first round of pit stops, but of course we do have a mandatory second stop for all drivers need to make. Of course, that won't happen for a few laps as of right now, but certainly exciting stuff, as now Andy and David going head-to-head for second place. This might allow Enzo to get a bit of a cushion for the time being, and it looks like Danger David is really holding it round the outside of what is now confirmed to be the champion of Season 5, and David being brave but great, as now, well, he's not going to have DRS, so he's actually going to have to allow the champion back through of Andy Andre, and Moksha, well, closes in to near enough 800ths towards that DRS bubble, but Andy, well, he's not close enough to have a go into 17, so has to hold back for now. But like I said, Danger David always has the pace there to at least close up to the back, but we'll have to use his tyres. Oh, there's a side-by-side battle into turn 17 between the Ferrari and the Williams. Don't want to see what happened to Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz. Luckily, we don't get a repeat of that, but we've got 2 Williams on 1 Ferrari. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1 for 5th position, but Quincy backs out. He has to think about his teammate as well. Rule 1 of motorsport, don't make contact with your teammate, and they managed to do that, giving each other the space. But through these next complex of corners, it's going to be Snake that wins that battle within the Williams team, and well, Kovacic and Jolly Boy John are going at each other now. Who's going to win this battle? And well, there's an inter-team battle going on there too. Remember, the teammates separated by 3 points for 6th position, and looking like that it's getting a bit feisty as Kovacic trying to stay ahead. Remember, he has a 10-second penalty to serve at his next stop, which he does have to serve. So remember that coming into all of this. He might not be here once proceedings take place. As now Quincy goes get past his teammate, but now trying to get past the Ferrari of Bavish there. Not quite so lucky in that regard, as now he goes through the long complex of turn 12 into 13, 14 and 15. Of course, after slotting behind for now, and Tabran and Kovacic do swap positions. It's very hard to keep up with what's happening on track, as now the 3rd DRS zone is being approached. Should be with us in a few moments' time. Herman, this could be an opportunity for Quincy.
Yeah, certainly looking like it. They drop back by 7 seconds because of the pit stop phase, and they are gonna be full. And it was a collision, I think. There was a collision with Quincy and Pleasant Snake into the braking zone. I think one of them missed their marks and they were shoved around each other. No damage, but he certainly lost that position, lost that DS now, and is under pressure from GR1, who's on a bit older medium tires from behind, but inside of the DS zone, and he's not going to be liking that, as well as the extra tire heat into his rears when approaching the braking zone. So there must have been a miscommunication on the Williams end, as there's now a continued fight at the back end of the top 10 with Jolly John, T-Brand, Eugene, and Kovachka, as well as No Sibo battling it out. And they've been pushing on for the last couple of laps. So we are currently spoiled with racing on this very fine evening of SSRL once again, as we have approached the halfway mark with still a pit stop to go. Uh, who is going to be in front? We will find that out for P10 now, as T-Brand moves by on his teammate. Gets the braking point sort of right. There's an opportunity there, but the inside line is very short in terms of meters, so he can stay ahead for now. And let's see if the top two continue to fight, with David now being repassed by Vincenzo and Moksha unable to find the lap time to be inside of the DRS window again. So he needs them to be fighting way more than they are currently now, as they approach the line for what is now the halfway point, as the Aston Martins stay in the same position. And there's a lunge maybe by Kovachka, and he is not able to get Eugene under braking for turn 17. Who do you think has the biggest advantage inside of the top three fight right now, Dave?
Well, at the moment, okay, I'm actually going to include Moksha in all this, but just give me a moment as we see side-by-side action with No Sabo and Kovachka. No Sabo gets that move done into turn 1. 13th place for the Haas driver. Haas aren't really with much coming in, and they're not going to score much as they stand right now. Just bringing you that fight. Well, Haas trying to battle for 7th with their sister team Ferrari. Babish really doing a good job not to get any penalties. But back to your original question, Herman, as we have... Oh, wait, no, we have a caution in Sector 1. That's going to clear itself up. That is actually... freakishly, Sergeant Dempsey in the same section where we saw at the beginning of the race. As now we're seeing more side-by-side action through turn 12. That's Pleasant Snake and Race Chase going and fighting one another. Pleasant Snake wins out on that battle, but now he's about to lose DRS to Babish. If he's not careful, I think he'll just keep it, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. But now, back to the original question for the third time of asking. At the moment, I'm going to include the top 4 in this, because Moksha, what I would do, if I was Moksha, I think he's actually the one who will influence all of this, as Danger David goes to the lead of the race into turn 1. He can undercut all of these 3 drivers. He is actually the one in control. He has got 8.8 seconds to Babish. Doesn't really need to worry about that. He could literally go in lap 21 and say, I'm going to go on softs. That would scare the top 3 in, and maybe everybody else, into an early pit stop. And I think that would be the best race. Oh, Quincy has crashed somewhere and safety car deployed. Oh, what I just said goes out the window. And now everybody should really be coming in for their final stops. Fresh medium tires to the end of the race, wouldn't you say, Herman?
Yeah, I would certainly think so. Obviously, Vincenzo can't do that. He has been putting on mediums for that extra for that one stop he had already, and that was at the exit of turns 3. So maybe a correction over the curb and then a snap of oversteer is usually the cause for high-speed accidents at the exit of that turn. So yeah, there was certainly something there for Quincy. So maybe a short moment of. Yeah, not concentrating well on the exit, where the car gets very loose if you take it a line that is too tight. So really the outside line works the best in terms of grip. So first guys are in. Obviously, the guys at the back have the first opportunities, and now it's gonna be it's gonna be an opportunity for Moksha even more. Now we have discussed at how undercut, overcut, there are opportunities. I have to say Moksha is now guaranteed to be fighting for a podium finish now even more, as they were obviously clinching the weight from him inside of this as a second stint, as now the race is neutralized. And yeah, even the guys that have been fighting from lap 1 inside of that midfield pack have the opportunity to cause some chaos if more lock-ups happen into 11 or 17. So see how this one works out. Moksha isn't getting held up by anyone else. So yeah, the top 4 without any disturbance as Race Chase has opted to stay out. So
Oh!
And he was a 3-second time penalty on pit exit.
Wow.
That is very unusual.
Wow,
But
wow,
maybe a bug.
wow. Sorry, I thought you were finished there, Herman. I do apologize.
No, good, all good.
Okay, so by the way, just before I just cut back to the action, we've actually had a tier 1 subscription from SSRL Energetic, who has been subscribed for 4 months, and he says, "Hey, Davey BV, watching somewhere in France, on my way to Barcelona for work. How is it going? It is going very well. We've had racing up and down the field." And then he also calls you very affectionately, Hermy Jeremy. How do you like that?
I love energetic, so I'm not gonna be ranting on this one. So yeah, I'm gonna take that name. And actually, something on nicknames. I've gotten this one from a commentators duo I was that was working for a cockpit league where Quincy and I met, where we were actually teammates for the first time on 2022, which is which game, or the game which he started league racing with. So yeah, I inherited that name because they came up with that during the broadcast. So I'm all for new names on broadcast as well. So thank you very much, Energetic. I'm gonna take this one.
Thank you very much. Spinny, to be fair, Spinny Quinny, well, Quincy has just come into the chat as well. Has commentated on Spinny Quinny, and Energetic saying Spinny Quinny is on the spot right now. Can't argue with that. I think I'm gonna give Iron Ghost colonoscopy, Mr. Colonoscopy, for obviously the post-race interview from last week. As you can tell, like, you know, I'm still not over that post-race interview from last week, so I hope we do see Mr. Colonoscopy again before the end of the season. Hopefully he kind of makes an appearance as a reserve for the final race. I'm sure if I could make a little bribe to Quincy in the background, I'm sure I could make something. I'm sure he'll make that happen, but of course that will be post-race discussions, and I would not dare influence one way or another. I hope you're not going to give him that. Oh, I am. Gossy Bossy says energetic, but anyway, you can tell that we're under same cigar. We've completely derailed away from the race, and what a race it has been, to be fairly honest. We now have Race Chase in the lead. All things considered, I didn't really have my cards on seeing Race Chase in the leads at all. Now, actually, to actually give him a bit of credit, he has actually got only 6 laps older tyres, so they're not in the best working condition, I'll give you that. But they're not in the worst condition either. I wouldn't say they could go to the end of the race, but with this safety car in tow, they're able to cool things down, might be able to make them last a little longer than their provided span. As we have a request from Quincy for a quick safety car interview. Do you want that to happen, Herman?
Yeah, why not?
Well, that's a yes. Quincy, you can make your way into the VC. Just give us a little holler when you're here, and then I will give you a question, which I think you'll know what that question's going to be.
Hello?
And here we are. Quincy is here. So Quincy, tell us what happened. You've brought out safety car number 1.
A little bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 2, trying to keep up with the guys to try and get some DRS. It's unfortunate. I had some decent pace today. I was really enjoying the racing as well. Just a few little mistakes, too many mistakes, I think, on this very slippery Miami track.
Apparently there was a bit of drama when you did the same last night. Do you want to tell us what happened?
Last night was just more setup based, I think. Same sort of thing happened, but it was harder to control the car yesterday. I think today I just pushed a bit too hard, a bit too much overdriving, because I felt like I could keep with at least the top 4 when the race started. So I was just pushing a bit too hard this time. But yesterday was just all based on not enough practice and bad setup.
And just one last question from me before I move things on to Herman, who can go into a bit more depth than I can about last night. Who do you have on your bets to win? Andy Andre looking a bit out of it now with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations to his name. So who are you betting on?
Money's on either No Danger David or possibly Vincenzo for a surprise win, because he seemed to have a lot more pace than he did last night. So yeah, the top 3 will probably be No Danger David, Vincenzo and Moksha.
Thank you very much, Herman. Any further questions?
Yeah, one thing, obviously, Quincy, yesterday we talked about straight line speed. How did you set up your car in terms of that for tonight?
I actually used Andrew's setup from last night, the Aston Martin 1117 wings, and it was honestly amazing. It really was. I didn't think it
Nice.
would be able to turn in the S section of sector 1, but it was actually very well balanced and on point. So yeah, I'll be keeping that setup for sure.
Nice.
Quincy, thank you very much for taking time to have a quick interview with us. We'll probably hear, well, you'll probably listen to us post-race as well, but hopefully we wish you better results for next week for our finale of F1 24 altogether in Silverstone.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Well, all right, we should have a call.
Yeah, so one thing before,
Sorry,
before we go on, and there's something you needed to obviously know about Race Chase. We still haven't seen his second stop, so he is, despite the tire life, not really on for anything. So he is gambling on what you've been praising most of the time. If one safety car comes on, most of the times, a second one follows through. So he's maybe banking on that. Let's see what he does on the restart now as we listen in with the V-Cup engine as we restart this race after the first safety.
He gets going on turn number 19, at least on entry, that is. So he left that one a bit late, but also was a bit of a higher speed. But there's already been an overtake. There's three sorts of action going on in the background. Andy trying to make his way through. Eugene and No Sebo having a fight in the background as well. And there's lots of fight even with the Aston Martins, 11th and 12th, trying to be decided. We have got an overcast. There's a Haas there briefly touching the barrier. Bit of a kiss there. There's a little bit of contact there. Aston Martin and Haas going side by side through that complex of corners. You don't usually see that, and there's a very good reason why. Kvachka wide onto the entrance of what is turn number 8 there, so probably had a bit of contact resulting from all that side-by-side action with the Haas and the Aston Martin. And now the inter-team battle, of course, separated by 3 points as David goes to the lead. But this is what we're looking at right now. Side-by-side, there's a little bit of contact with the McLaren and Haas. The Aston Martin of Tabran, Jolly Boy even goes deep, but gets the move done and even finds a place around Eugene. What a move through 11 and 12, and it's all secured there. So Jolly Boy John on a rise, but David is your new leader of the race, going through onto the end of lap 20, Herman.
Yeah, I've had the time to look at Andy's penalty, and it seemed like he crossed the exit white line. So I think that is going to be a slam dunk penalty, and there's no chance of removal. And he's going to be fighting for a podium spot with at least one hand tied to his back, as Moksha needs to get by on Vincenzo now, as he's very close to him. Inside line for the Alpine into turn 1. Can he make it stick? The ass is an airbag now, so he needs to be inside of the 1 second of Andy ahead, as the next couple of corners are crucial for his race, with the DRS zone coming up on the main straight and the DRS detection point just after turn 8, and he's currently out of it. And see if he can push into it. He needs to be, because the other 3 can get away again, just like they have been doing inside the second stint. So Moksha needs to get it on, and it seems like he has done so, as David has now breached the over 1 second mark, as Race Chase is kind of moving out of the way of Andy. Let's see if Moksha can get by. No, he's way too far behind, as now Snake and Bevish. No, that is Vincenzo and Snake are fighting for P5 around the outside the Williams Coast. There's also Bevish looking to maybe have a benefit off of that fighting. They touch a bit, and Snake goes ahead, and Bevish has to stay behind for the moment. But the long straight is coming up with a huge potential of moves, as now Andy is obviously trying to get away from Moksha, who still needs to pass Race Chase. But that is going to be, going to be done into turn 17 very soon. So yeah, was no DS on Andy, but he's going to be having that for turn 1 again, as Moksha is into third, and that is a very crucial third, as we have alluded to, and actually the fight for third in the championship. Dave, who is now in the prime position, do you think?
Well, at the moment, Danger David, if he can work with Andy for the rest of this race, as Andy gets the fastest lap there, I think that was like a 1:28 something. I might have misread that. But at the moment now, we have a side-by-side battle between Eugene and Jolly Boy John. Jolly Boy John round the outside into turn 1, as now Sebo and Tabran for 11th and 12th going side-by-side with one another. There's Kovachka trying to get involved, trying to keep up his drives into the top 10 intact, although this is going to be rather tricky from this position. Kovachka and an Aston Martin going side-by-side through this complex of corners again, like the Haas did on the previous, well, couple of laps ago. And now it's Kovachka who gets through somehow. And then Tarkangino says, there's a gap opening up for me. I'll just take that. Thank you very much. No damage to either car. And it's good to see. Only Kinsey causing one safety car, which lasted from lap 16 till about lap 19. And now we see Tabran lose out on 13th place. He has to let Tarkangino through. That's the inside line. But now, back to Herman's original question. At the moment, it's Danger David in the driving seat. He can use... Oh, but there's a who spun, and that is the escape button, not the button I wanted to press. Why has that happened? Don't know why. Why do things happen? As well, that was a Ferrari of Bavish spinning out, and that is unfortunate, as now he is going all the way down the field. He might not have a penalty, but he's disqualified as well for facing the wrong way. So Bavish's race comes to a disappointing end, and Bavish is disqualified for facing the wrong way and the exit of turn 16. So now that we've got that out of the way, back to Herman's question. Now that that's all said and done, Danger David in position. He can share the DRS with Andy Andre. He doesn't need to be ahead of Andy Andre. He just needs to be within that 3-second window, and then Andy loses the win. David gets the win, but also he'll be thinking about Moksha behind. He wants to maximize, as Rosa has also gone into the pits to retire from today's race. So he'll want to actually share the DRS with Andy and then get a bit of a cushion, as now Enzo goes down the inside for 5th on Race Chase, as Bavish has obviously still retired. That's not changed there. He just now leaves the session calls it a day from there. But yeah, no, for me, Herman, to answer the question, with all the battling going on, it is David who is in position, and Race Chase, needs to bank on a second safety car happening. And, that's one of the chances that's dissipated now.
Yeah, Moksha is unable to get into that fight. He was 10th as close as the 10th to the front row, and now has to the front two, and has now to look into his mirrors as Snake, who isn't really in the fight anymore. He kind of needs to win to get a bigger cushion in terms of overall for the championship points, with 2 races to go, and this one concluding in 5 laps time. Is not really fighting for that. So if this thing is still alive on Moksha at the end of the day into Silverstone, then he needs to be ahead of Snake so that he doesn't lose extra 2 positions. So let's see what's going on with him. You briefly touched upon how the weather has gone to more of overcast situation, but yeah, if Race Chase maybe saw some rain dots on the track or on the prediction for the race strategy, this might come in late. I've seen crazy races as Snake goes to what is now P3 on the inside of turn 11. Can he make it stick? Shorter line for Moksha coming up, but now the inside line for turn 13 is the Williamses to take. Next opportunity to repass is coming up now. So yeah, let's see if Race Chase has actually thought about rain or if there's anything coming. But as soon as we speak of him, he gets a free second as well. Snake is going to be using that DS advantage, and the chance is also there. So that is still a fight for P2 to P3, depending on how much time they are losing. If David is bringing Andy into the fight, they will be losing time as well. But right now, it's for the final podium position at minimum. So yeah, they need to get on with it sooner than later, as there's a crash into turn 17 with Tarkangino and his teammate Sibo as well.
The 2 Hasses come together, and it's Tarkangino who's worse for wear. Damage to the front right end plate of the front wing, and the 2 teammates come together, and that is the end of the Haas train. They were behind the Ferraris coming into this. Now with Bavish's retirement, that does mean the road is a little bit easier to go to the end of the race, but now surely one of the Haas, well, pulls out the points. As soon as I say that, though, Sergeant Dempsey is actually into the pits as well, so Tarkangino should still take away a point rather easily, as now, in talking about points, Moksha back up into third place. Of course, Pleasant Stake, as Herman has already mentioned here, has taken a win, and I just don't think we're going to see rain. I think it is going to be like we were teased on Sunday. Rain might come into play, but I don't think it's going to come in early enough. It might be, well, it would need to be next lap before it makes any real impact, or literally as soon as we're speaking right now. Track is overcast, but at the moment, no rain to speak of in terms of forecast, but very exciting battles up and down the field. Andy's penalty unlikely to be removed if appealed. Last lap rain, and let's go Snake from Quincy in the chat as well. Last lap rain, maybe. Just don't think it would be enough to really affect the proceedings of the race, although we do have a very exciting battle for third place. Danger David and Andy all but decided, unless if David gets a 3-second penalty, and Andy would at least confirm second thanks to the fighting that Moksha, Snake and Chenzo are doing right now. Herman, how do you see this third place battle sort of tapping out, so to speak?
Yeah, I think the opportunities are there for everyone, I have to say. Obviously, when Chenzo looking at an opportunity, the older the race gets, basically, because his tires are going to be in a good or better shape sooner rather than later. But we are in the dying moments of this race, so I think the Williams are going to be holding on, and Giaon is actually opted for that intermediate already. So I think that is a bit early, I have to say, and I don't see anything on the screen right now. So it was spun at the exit of turn 3 right now, and he's going again. So yeah, that might be a bit early. I'm kind of begging Moksha, because yeah, he had a great race yesterday, and obviously he's gonna be also in need of some points when David wins this. Don't know if there's a appeal from Andy coming, but David is also on 2 warnings if these are for track limits. So yeah, he needs to be cautious to make sure that he is not going to be throwing that one away. And he's having a second eye on. No, there was also a collision one, so he's at maximum on 1. So he is going to be good for the end of the race if he doesn't push it over the limit as of right now. And I don't see any reason for him to do so. So yeah, let's see where the third place is going to be, as Jolly John is involved in a collision with Eugene, and he's also been hit by Kovachka as he almost gets back into the pathway of his teammate. Tibron now into nice position at this stage of the race. Crucial time lost, and obviously position for a strong finish for Jolly John, who was looking like he was going to be benefiting off of race chase, not pitting for the second time. There's rain.
There is rain. I've just seen it now. We're watching the battle for the lead of the race. Of course, Andy takes the lead, but of course, with that 3-second penalty hanging over him, as now we also see a battle for third place going rapid, as well as Eugene now overtakes race chase. Of course, penalties still to be decided, but there is rain on the Miami circuit. Well. What Quincy said has come true, and it's now lap 27 out of 29. What do you do as Toby is struggling to get the car stopped for turn 11 through 12? He's struggling. No Sebo up to 11th. Tarkangino behind Sergeant Dempsey by 46 seconds, was the second driver to go on to intermediates, but also GR1 Racing is on intermediates, and they are 3 laps old as we go on to the second to final lap. No, he gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violation, so and that will be added on to his time as another battle for third is ensuing. Moksha overtakes Pleasant Stake there as Kovachka Race Chase. Well, Race Chase is into the pits. He's going to go in for intermediates as well. Let's see how that works out, as, oh my word, there's a McLaren going down the inside of Stake. By the way, as well, bit of information from chat. Says Quincy, I said Andy's pen seems unfair and will be reviewed. So there will be a review, as there's been a spin. No Sebo was in the wall there for a brief few moments there on soft tires, and he's struggling to get the power down. And well, somebody could benefit from this, as Danger David tries not to go into the back of the Mercedes for Herman. Crazy stuff in these final 2 laps.
Yeah, I don't think the front 5 will pit, but the other guys have opportunities there to he'll be basking in some glory if they get it right. And obviously, Race Chase needed to do that pit stop, otherwise he would have gotten a hefty penalty at the end of the race in 2 laps time. So let's see who is gonna be hanging it out here. There's obviously a time for a point of no return, and that has come probably at the end of the last lap. So yeah, going into the 28th lap, there's probably no time to get back if you pit now. So I think all of these drivers are going to be hanging out till the end, and also DS is still
Oh no!
Oh no, there's a huge double spin by Vincenzo and Snake at the exit of turn 18, so it's very slippy as you can see, and Moksha is definitely going to be finishing in third, but he needs to keep it on the track as well for the next 5.7 kilometers, how long it is. So let's see if he can actually do so, and if other casualties will follow if this weather is continuing to be worsening.
And it looks like Moksha has the advantage as well, because that gap was at 4 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's currently at 3.2, but remember, there's also those few tenths you have to consider. DRS, I think, has been disabled by race. No, it hasn't. It's just gone through now there for Danger David, so he will get a bit of a slipstream, and of course some advantages. He doesn't want to overtake Andy Andre, but Andy Andre is sliding through the 11, turn 11. That's going to hold him up, and this holds up David as well. Look at Moksha. 3.2 seconds it was, but 3.4. He must also be struggling with grip. But now it's the final couple of turns. Very treacherous there. They take that cautiously through that final chicane. DRS will be with David again, but of course he might need to overtake. That penalty is under review. Do not forget, Andy goes left, goes right, trying to break the slipstream. It doesn't matter because David's down the inside. Who's braver on the brakes in these conditions? It looks to be David, but on spin from the Red Bull. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Andy looks to be ahead for now, and he's going to take the win on track. And it's David for now who will be a winner, but on track it was Andy Andre. Moksha in third, Enzo fourth, Pleasant Snake fifth. As always, there's a bit of controversy towards the end there. Looked like Eugene had a bit of a moment through 17, and now he's going to take sixth, but due to his penalty, he'll be demoted by Kavachka and Chabran there. But did Kavachka make a second stop? He did, so we were looking at Race Chase there as Enzo leaves the session after completing his times. There you go. So 11th goes to Toby, 10th goes to Nosebo. Race Chase takes 12th in the end. 13th is GR1 Racing. Cerebro will come across the line in 14th, but in treacherous conditions. That is not that's not the race he would have wanted, but he will still score some points there. Just to be precise, that will be 2 points going his way. But of course, now that we've concluded the proceedings, well, as of right now, without the penalties being reviewed, David takes home 25 points, so he has a 7-point jump over his contender Moksha, so that would be a 4-point lead for third place going into the finale of the championship. Now, let's say it was to go reverse, and then let's say Andy's penalty is overturned. Then it would be Danger David into second place. So that would be a score of 20 points, and then that would only be a 1-point separation. So that would mean with 2 points separating second and third, 1 point to decide it all, as now Cerebro does cross the line in 14th, and that is the Grand Prix concluded. But GR1 Racing unable to make a difference on those inters. It was better to stick it out on the dries, as the top 4 showed.
Yeah, great race by Kovachka. He has completed P14 to P6 charge once again. As you see, the top 3 drivers on the podium right now. And you have to say that was very well deserved. Also, no mistakes in terms of the track limits as well. Kept it clean and stayed out of the trouble. And you have also give it to Eugene, who has been putting also in a nice drive, dropping a couple of places there at the end of his time penalty. But big points for Alpine, who will be probably secure that second place now, with Kicksauber not scoring at all. And no, they got the point. Sorry, I didn't see that at the end. So yeah, that's gonna be a huge advantage for them for second. And obviously McLaren against VCAP was it's gonna be a tough task with VCAP probably on the back now, and Race Chase late pit stop, you have to say. Waiting for the rain wasn't the right call, and he suffered from that and only finished P12.
Thank you very much. So there you go. It didn't work out for the intermediate runners, as we've already said. So that would mean that it wasn't, as Herman said, it wasn't the right call to wait. But what a race that was in anyway. All the chaos at the end there, of course, contact between Chenzo and Pleasant Snake. Of course, Quincy, the only retirement, causing a safety car, which if we didn't have that safety car, I don't think we would have seen the race affected by rain. So Quincy in the doghouse tonight in terms of SSRL drivers, and certainly a few of them might have a few words, although I don't think he's totally to blame for what happened. So let's give him a bit of fair dues here. But of course, we're just waiting for our top three to make their way into the commentary box, so we will give interviews with them as they come through. But Herman, at the moment, Danger David takes the win. And it might not stand as of right now because Andy's penalty is being reviewed, and we will see what the conclusion of that comes to. I don't think it will be reviewed within this broadcast, but we'll see
No.
what happens. What do you think, Herman?
Yeah, I have to say, if the review is towards Andy, you have to say that was still a pretty good drive, and I think despite the late rain affecting the race, you have to applaud David for the overall performance, and obviously I have the conclusion of yesterday's night as well, where he improved massively from yesterday, and obviously with fellas not being at the top there. And there was also one guy less to worry about that they made it through, pulled ahead, and at stages where he needed to, and especially after that safety car restart was not burning himself too much with the drivers behind challenging him.
Yep, and we're just getting some confirmation now in the chat. So Quincy checked the director, it seemed a bit iffy from his end. So that more than likely is from the tone of the conversation, looking to be overturned. But of course, an investigation has to happen first. Now, I've given it enough time. We've only got Danger David and Andy in the box right now. We just need to wait on Moksha to make his way through. But we'll speak to our winner at the moment under review of the Miami Grand Prix. It is Danger David. Well, for now, congratulations on the win. It was only due to Andy's penalty. Could be overturned, but a great race from yourself. And that also means you have a bit of breathing space, or maybe just reducing the breathing space which Moksha has on you. Either way, that's a good result.
Yeah, good result. I'm not sure as to why he got the 3-second penalty, but you've always got to have the mindset that it could be reviewed. So I did push. Going at the final corner there, I actually kind of done similar to Andy last night, but with the wet weather, I just locked up my fronts. So that costed me the win there. And obviously I got a bit of oversteer on the corner exit, and I just had to be careful not to crash both me and Andy out, so I just had to accept the loss at that point. And if the 3-second penalty is removed, at the end of the day, it was a fantastic race, and Andy always deserves the win when he gets it.
Thank you very much, David. And of course, just kind of ask, we had rain in those final 3 laps of the race. Was there any prior warning to that coming through, or did that just come about so suddenly?
It was forecast the whole race on the actual race, the setup screen at the start. It did predict a spell of rain only for about 10 minutes. So I was expecting it, and going by last night's race and just Miami in general, you do get a safety car around that track. So I prepared for that. Safety car came out. I knew the rain was coming in. I knew it was going to be tight, and it was the final lap. I would say the third sector on the final lap is when the conditions changed quite badly, and it became the crossover point. So I think we were quite fortunate to get that far around the track before it was intermediate territory.
All right. And just kind of one last thing. Of course, you weren't able to contend for the top 2 in the championship this season. Of course, this stage last season, you were up there. Right up there with Herman and Andy. Do you think you could bring on a challenge for something like that next season, or do you have to depend just to wait and see how F125 works out for you?
I find the transition period between games is always fairly straightforward. So if I've got the pace in this game, I think I'll very quickly have the pace in the F125 game. So I'm going to give it everything like I've been doing recently. I just need to improve my qualifying.
All right then, Herman, any further questions?
Yeah, so obviously, something I've kept notes of from yesterday was your tire choices. The soft tire instead of the second stint that really didn't work for you, neither the undercut nor anything in terms of pure performance. So you obviously ditched that one for tonight. What was the biggest learning maybe that you took into tonight, as we had a very close qualifying with the top 5 cars again, and you were kind of on it from your first lap? What was the main difference from what you did yesterday? Also disregarding the last couple of laps with the rain, because I don't think anyone really practices rain these days. So yeah, what was that from your side for tonight?
You actually hit the nail on the head there. It was the last night, the undercut. There was nothing. I even chose to go the softs for the undercut last night, and there was just no gain. So I just thought, listen, follow the rest of the guys in front of me, stay with them, hope that I don't have cars behind that will delay my pit exit. Going into the race, I knew it was very likely there was going to be rain. So I thought, start in the mediums, box with everyone else, go for the hards, go as long as possible. And at that point, I'll decide either to go for the intermediates or go for the soft or the medium compound. So today's race was planned around that 10-minute rain shower period. And yeah, it just worked out quite well, especially with the race chase on the end of that safety car. He was on, I think, 6 or 7 lap old mediums. So I knew if I got by him quick, me and Andy could then try and create a gap. And of course, he was very focused on reducing that 3-second penalty. So me and him just kind of cleared off. It was good.
Yeah, obviously next time is going to be the finale in Silverstone. How do you feel about this track, and what kind of things are you looking forward in terms of that final full qualifying session? Because that is obviously going to determine a big chunk of race proceedings before we even head into it. What are your thoughts and feelings on the track in Silverstone?
Good track. It'll be a good fun final race for the grid. Obviously, I've got that slight confidence issue with my qualifying, but I do find round Silverstone I'm quite quick. So regardless of where I qualify, I'm just going to have a good race. It's the final race of the game. We've got to enjoy ourselves out there as well.
Yeah, certainly do, and congratulations again to what is P1 for now, but still a great podium. So wishing you the best of luck for the finale. Thank you.
Don't forget full quali next week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
I'm sure we'll cover that in just a few moments. I thought we already did, but anyway, let's move things on to our second place. Second place for now. It is Andy Andre. Again, congratulations on second. For now, it is under review, of course. I will kind of start with the elephant in the room. Can you just take us through what happened with your 3 seconds there and how that was gained?
Yes, surely. Lots to talk about after this race. I just got distracted a bit during the safety car after exiting the pits, and just found myself nearly colliding with the wall on the pit exit. Luckily, I managed not to hit that, but cutting the corner or going wide got me the instant penalty. It wasn't my third warning. It was a direct penalty. And not sure what to say about that. There was certainly no advantage gained where we were under safety car conditions, but I'm thinking that David may have approached the last stint differently if he knew that my penalty would be removed. So not sure how that's gonna end up. But regardless, it was a very enjoyable race. I don't really like this track so much, and I'm not really especially fast here, but regardless, I managed to put together a good race, and especially the last end after I dialed in a bit of front wing, the car felt really great, and I loved the racing.
And of course, just the same question like I asked to David. What was that rain an influencer with your strategy going into tonight, or did that just come about suddenly?
Uh, there was a slight influence. I thought to go with the hearts for the second stint in case I had to go long and go directly to the inters, and so that I wouldn't have to make a third stop. But with the safety car having come out earlier, it didn't really make any difference. Luckily, it didn't come a few laps earlier, and the mediums were able to take me to the end. And in terms of incidents, yeah, driving in wet conditions with the mediums isn't ideal, but of course for one lap, it's not worth pitting. So uh, luckily, I managed to keep the car in one piece.
All right. And now, of course, you obviously, as we've already spoken about, you are currently, well, you are champion in Division 1 and Division 2. And I just also want to say, I want to ask, could you try bringing this into the next game, or at the moment, are you not very sure?
Uh, Probably not. I'm trying to focus on some other things in my life right now, and I really want to take a step back from the game. But that's something I've been thinking about for a few seasons now, and not sure if how it's gonna end up. But we'll have to wait and see. But for sure, I'm not getting my hopes up for continuing the winning streak.
Well, regardless, you've given us 4 legendary seasons of your driving. It's been an absolute pleasure to broadcast your victories and certainly 10th championships. It certainly wasn't easy, thanks to Herman and of course for a season there, David. But like I will pass any further questions to your former championship rival, Herman.
Yeah, so and
Thank you.
obviously yesterday didn't go to plan at all. You had struggles at the end with the late safety car. Some drivers having the advantage on the tires. You're also suffering from an unusual 3-second time penalty. So how did you manage to turn things around here? Obviously, Feddersen wasn't really in the top fight for tonight as he was already down in qualifying. Something you talked about this setup with the front wing. What was the main or the key difference in terms of maybe setup or approach you did for tonight?
Well, initially I went with exactly the same setup as yesterday, but I just found in yesterday I got some snaps of oversteer at the corner exit, and I kept lowering the front wing, and it helped with that, but it cost me a lot of performance. And today in the first two stints, I got a lot of mid corner understeer, and it forced me to make the most of the turning at the corner exit. And the back end is really snappy if you approach it like that. So I tried dialing in a couple of clicks of front wing for the last stint to help the car turn in earlier, and it was really a lot better. And yeah, I'm sure the overall pace would have been a lot better if I would have done that sooner. But yeah, regardless, I don't think I was gonna be the fastest anyway. This track doesn't really suit me at all. I don't know why.
Yeah, that was still good race today, and obviously there's still a chance to win this one. A couple of podiums and wins in the double digits for Division 2 as well as poles. Anything particular you want to do inside of the last race with maybe another Grand Slam or something, or do you just aim to get the most out of it from race to race as you've been obviously aiming towards to with all of these great drivers trying to challenge you on days where you just eke them out most of the time and obviously winning that championship early last time. So what is the final thing you want to do for this game?
Well, Silverstone is a track that I love and I've been good at in the past races. And with both the championships already in the bag, there's really no pressure, and I just I can just focus on enjoying the race. So yeah, looking forward to it a lot, especially with the full qualifying. It's gonna make things a lot more interesting, and yeah, hoping for a grand finale.
Okay, well, congratulations again on what is at minimum a second place for tonight, and speaking to you in 7 days' time, probably.
Yep, thank you very much. See you next week.
With the way Andy's going, that's probably going to be 6 as well. But anyway, Andy, again, congratulations on wherever you finished, whether that be first or second. It was a great race from you regardless. But now we move on to last but most definitely not least in our podium intros. It is Moksha with yet another third place in this season. Moksha, you are stringing a few of these together and you seem to be doing very, very well. But unfortunately, you did finish behind your third place rival. We're not sure about the positions, but he'll be either 3 points ahead by the end of tonight, or he'll be a point behind you. How do you feel going into Silverstone in one of those two positions next week?
Yeah, I mean, I found P3 today a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I think the pace was there, but I was really unlucky one time in the pits, and then I was hunting Andy and David the whole time. Catch the DRS, needed to spend all my energy, but I couldn't catch up really. Yeah, really disappointed, to be honest, because I think there was more in it today. Yeah, let's see how it will go out in Silverstone. I'm not really fast there, but I like this track, so let's see what happened there. Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to give you the same question I've given to the other two drivers. Of course, there was, according to them, a forecast of rain. Did this influence your strategy going into tonight, or did you not worry about that?
I saw it. We had kind of similar conditions in the practice, so I just waited if the rain come early or not, and it wasn't. So I was just sticking to the strategy, and then the last safety car, of course, made the call in the pits, and yeah, from there on, it was just going to the end.
All right then. And then, of course, with of course Silverstone coming up next week and your battle for third, as we've already talked about, how do you feel about finishing ahead of David going into next week? Is that something that you'll be looking to do?
Of course, I want to finish in front of everybody. To be honest, yeah, let's see what the race brings. As I told, I'm not really fast there, and I didn't have many laps there, so yeah, I'm just racing my best, and yeah, see what the result is then.
All right. Well, you have Division 1 and a lot of days to come. Hopefully you can make some use of it then. But any further questions, I will pass on to Herman.
Yeah, Max, obviously yesterday looked like you were in a good shout for the win against Fellison, and today, although you face similar conditions with having to close down a gap to the guys in front, you weren't really able to. You yeah, obviously mentioned a moment in the pits. We obviously noted that as well. So, was there anything particular for you in terms of your race rhythm for tonight that wasn't working in your favor, or did just the gap and how these two managed to kind of boost themselves away with the DRS on the straights from you, yeah, not work in your favor at all? What was maybe the key difference from yesterday's condition into this race for tonight?
Yeah, I think today it was two reasons. First of all, the pit stop. I lost a lot there, and the second was a safety car restart. We had Ray Chase in front who didn't went into the pits or went into the pits early. I didn't know, and yeah, he kind of holded me up to stay in the DRS from these bows. And yeah, once the DRS is activated and they can just swap it and boost themselves as you told, so there was no chance really to catch up.
Obviously, you had a good run yesterday. Where a couple of things also were to keep in mind in terms of strategy. Do you feel like with the qualifying, there was maybe something you improved actually from yesterday on, because we discussed it as well yesterday?
Oh no, in the quali I was 2 times impeded, and the last really lap I could make, I bottled it on myself. So I just really had my banker in, and I think yeah there could have been more, but it's a usual story in the quali. So yeah, it is like it is.
Yeah, obviously gonna look forward to a full qualifying session and with maybe some of these drivers not being in your Q3 for next week, and obviously you are going to be fighting for that third place again. Is that something, when you look at both divisions, you kind of dreamt of? Did you feel like that was the target overall? Are you thinking right now that you're kind of overachieving with your targets, as this was a very long season? People had to really stick to it, with other drivers who were obviously fighting in similar positions at the front throughout the season have not really had the endurance to do so. Are you happy with your season, both of the seasons, in after 15 races?
Yeah, more than happy. I mean, my target from the beginning was double-digit points in every race. Means 160 points at least, and yeah, I overachieved that in both divisions, and yeah, even had really good races. I mean, I kind of outpaced myself every race, and kept practicing just to keep up in the front with the front guys, and keep fighting. And I think this season it was really good, and last season it wasn't even in my imagination to be that fast in this division. So more than happy, yeah.
Okay, wishing you the best of luck for next week as well, and hopefully for you can finish off this one with a good one. Congrats on your P3 again. Speak to you next week.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Congrats on third Moksha. See you next week.
Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, Herman. Well, look, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes before ad break starts, so we're going to have to conclude everything rather quickly. But exciting round in Miami. Lots of overtaking, lots of great racing, and still some things undecided into next week. But I do think Mercedes have now decided the constructors. I don't think anybody can catch them. So I think that is all but decided tonight. I would have to look at results again. But other than that, Herman, what a great round.
Yeah, it was certainly racing in all of the spaces out on track. Obviously, midfield pack from P8 downwards, and the top 6 at the start. Obviously, Williams dropping out meant there were only a couple of guys left, but that was certainly entertaining from start to finish, and delivered on this end. And Silverstone is going to be probably an even more interesting track. Also, tough on track limits as well for some, and a full qualifying session to round it out. So, yeah, looking forward to that.
Alrighty, yes, as you say, of course, next week is our last full qualifying session in Season 5, and of course, the finale of SSRL on F124 altogether. The constructors and the drivers are all but decided, but you should join us next week for the battle for third and potentially other places around the championship. Herman, as always, it's a pleasure to be commentating with you. Thank you so much for being with me and giving your insights. Herman, anything final to say?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me again, and I hope we are having a nice finale as the end of a very long during season.
Absolutely. Herman, I'll see you next week, but for now, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Dave.
Alright, so we have at max 30 seconds to go. So from all the admin stewards and the drivers, we wish you all the very best for the rest of your evening. We hope you have enjoyed the rest of your week. Join us same time next week, 7:30 PM BST, for the finale of Season 5 and see where that takes us. But from ourselves, it is bye-bye for now.